He's Josh Tech. I'm Justin Young, and this is the Shot Clock right here on HoopSeen.com, on YouTube, and all social medias. Josh Tech, happy holidays. What's up, buddy?
Hey, happy holidays. Long time no see. So, I don't know. You have a good holiday?
Always a good holiday, man. Always a good holiday. I know our staff had a good holiday. We spent a lot of it, not just with Santa Claus, but also with a lot of basketballs, a lot of whistles, a lot of referees, a lot of teams, a lot of players, a lot of prospects all over the place, man.
Certainly a lot of whistles. Nothing will pull you out of that holiday malaise like a referee getting too aggressive with his whistle right in front of your ear. So, yeah. I think I'm still suffering from some hearing loss over the weekends. But yeah, it was great. I mean,
it's
right
so funny you say that. Like, my kids think that I'm going deaf, and I do think I am going deaf between spending times in gyms and, my leisure time. I like to spend a lot of time, going to music venues and stuff like that. So I probably do have some significant hearing loss.
Yeah. I mean, between between going to shows and between, being in gyms, like, it's loud. My life is loud.
Yeah.
And I'm not a guy who talks a lot. So when you're in the gym, you kind of have to yell to your friend next to you. And so I always leave thinking I have like some kind of sore throat, like, oh, maybe COVID finally got me. But hey, no.
I know. Well, I'm glad we didn't do that, because last year that was definitely a theme for all of our staff, was picking up COVID along the way. So I think we've all dodged the bullet this year. So one of the places that you was at the loaded Chick-Fil-A Classic in Columbia, South Carolina area, an event that's been going on a long time, an event that I used to go to a long time ago.
20 years. This is the 20th anniversary.
Was it really the 20th anniversary? Wow, that's phenomenal. I think I may have been there for the very first one. I don't know. Maybe it was. Nevertheless, you saw a lot of good things. The way they set this event up, they've got multiple brackets. They've got the American division. They've got the national division. Do they have like showcase games set up? I don't remember.
Yeah, they had a day. I believe it was. I think every tournament is on the weekend. So I'm trying to avoid saying it's on Saturday. I believe this was on Tuesday, is the day that I got there, and they had a lot of North Carolina teams playing against each other.
Got it.
Or North Carolina, South Carolina teams playing against each other in a Carolina division, right?
Yeah.
So, they had three different kind of things going on. That one wasn't really. That was more showcase as opposed to being bracket play.
Well, we're going to go through and talk about the top performers, regardless of the division that they were in, and regardless of where they were from, because there was certainly a ton of talent from all over the country, a lot of familiar faces as well along the way. So let's just start at the very top. Who won it as a team, and who won it individually from your point of view?
Okay, so as a team in the American, the American bracket, John Marshall won, and they won, by upsetting the Boozers in Columbus in the semifinals, which was, probably one of the biggest talking points of the entire weekend, because you don't see those guys lose very often. Yeah. And in their next game, they got to face Wheeler in the championship game, and they ended up beating the Wildcats in that one. And those are two teams that, I've seen a lot over the last couple of weeks.
Sure.
So, it's just coincidental that they both got, matched up and knocked down by John Marshall from Virginia. And I thought, overall as a team, they were good. There wasn't like a specific guy that did, that was it, right? Like in the championship game, it was NC State signee Dennis Parker. In the semifinal game, it was freshman Latrell Almond. And then other games, it was, other guys stepped up throughout the entire weekend for them.
Well, I think if you walk away with victories over Columbus out of Florida and Wheeler out of Georgia, that in and of itself, I think makes a really significant case for a team on a national perspective, for the national conversation, to get those types of wins. Those are not easy wins, and to walk away from a tournament with those, that is about as good of a gift you can get as you close out the 2022 calendar. So shout out to John Marshall out of Virginia, big time win. You said they had a freshman on their team, Almond?
Yeah, Latrell Almond. He's originally from North Carolina, and he's up in Virginia now. He's gonna be a star. I'm sure we'll get into him a little bit later, but he's gonna be a star.
I love it. Well, let's talk about Huntington Prep. I know they took care of business in the national bracket, which is kind of good to see. Like, Huntington Prep for a long time was one of those national powerhouses. And then there was, COVID, I think, affected them a lot out of West Virginia. What was it about this team that allowed them to be in position to be victorious?
Yeah, and this is another one that had a big upset. They upset IMG in the championship game, and that IMG team is
loaded.
Per usual, loaded.
Yeah.
They have a lot of guys that we really like on that team. So the fact that Huntington Prep was able to get a win over them was really impressive. And for Huntington Prep, just like John Marshall, it was kind of a by committee kind of deal, right? So like in one game, you'd have one player step up, and another game, another player would step up. But one guy that was, where he remained consistent throughout the weekend was Larry Johnson out of, he originally from down here in Georgia.
Go. You know what this is all about?
What's that? What are you doing there?
LJ, baby. You don't know about LJ.
Okay. Sorry. I thought you were referencing like that was like some kind of deep cut Savannah, Georgia reference, because that's where Larry Johnson's from originally. He went to Beach High School before transferring over to Huntington Prep, and he took home the MVP awards because he was, it was consistency throughout the entire run that they had over there.
Got it. Well, Mr. Young Larry Johnson, if you're watching this, you gotta Google Larry Johnson from the Knicks and from UNLV. And when he hit a three, he would throw.
Sure. I see. I didn't know that. I knew who Larry Johnson was, but I was like, wait a minute, am I missing something from Beach High School here?
I'm gonna go even deeper cut. Fun fact: I was an extra in a Grandmama commercial that was shot at Arlington, Texas High School back in 1990. I don't know, it was 93, 94. I could be wrong on my dates, but I was an extra in a Grandmama commercial that was shot at maybe it was Arlington Martin. Anyways, nevertheless, he was a Dallas guy. I grew up in Dallas, and it was cool to see.
I was going to say, how did that connection come about? But that makes sense. I knew you were from Dallas, so
yeah. So I'm a huge Larry Johnson guy. So it's cool to see a guy from Savannah Beach, the same name. So Young Larry Johnson, if you are watching this, which I hope that you are, go to YouTube right after getting liking and subscribing this video, and go search for Larry Johnson in UNLV in New York Knicks for the or Hornets or wherever he played when he threw up the LJ. How big is Larry Johnson from Savannah Beach, Huntington Prep?
Like size-wise, like 6'3" to 6'5" ish. I kind of ballpark ranges. I'm not like one of those guys that can just look at someone and be like, "Yep, he is exactly 6 foot, blah 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 on the dot." Like as a short person, which I am very short, everybody's tall to me, so he's in the 6'3" to 6'5" range.
Got it. Very specific, 6'3" to 6'5" range. I like it. We do this in every pod when we go cover events, and we talk about guys that played themselves up in our rankings, and which we're in the process of doing right now, is updating our rankings for all the classes, 23 all the way to 26 in some cases. Who stood out to you, Josh Tech, that needs to be edited in our HoopSeen's search database with our updated rankings that are coming up?
I think the first guy you have to talk about is probably the stock riser of the weekend was Amir Ali out of IMG Academy, 2024 guy, 6'8". Like, and what he did really well over the weekend wasn't like flashy, right? He was a really, really efficient shooter. Like, I don't have his numbers in front of me, but he probably shot, around 70% for the entire weekend. And it wasn't like he was just taking 1 or 2 shots. He was probably going like, 6 of 8 from the floor, around that range. And he was really shooting it from 3 really well. That's where he did most of his damage as a 6'8" shooter. And I think he's a guy that's really got to rise just because of his ability to knock down shots, combined with his size. I think that's just modern basketball, right? You have, big wings that can, hit threes. And that's what Amir Ali did over the weekend. He was really fantastic for IMG.
Yeah, big wing, like you said. I saw him here at the Hoop Hall West with IMG, and that team, man, like you said, they're freaking loaded, man. They're stacked. They got so many dudes on that team as well. Huntington Prep, when you win it and you beat a team like IMG, somebody is going to be able to shine in that spotlight. Did their roster have anybody that kind of fits this category as a rankings riser for you?
Yeah, it's Jordan McCollum out of Huntington Prep. Obviously, he's another 6'8" kind of guy, 6'7", 6'8" range. And where his bread is buttered is via his athleticism and his motor and his length around the basket. I mean, he plays his ass off, frankly, and it's just super impressive to watch. I got to speak with him for a second, and he has some SEC offers starting to roll in. That really makes sense because of the way he plays. He's super athletic, super gritty kind of player. Throughout the weekend, he did show kind of some skill play with, being able to put the ball on the floor, being able to kind of create a little bit. And I think that part of his game is going to keep developing. He's also a 2024 guy. And I think he's, going to enter the fold as a national top 100 guy sooner than later.
I like it. Again, we're updating our rankings for the class of 2024, particularly the most, I would say, for 2024. Those will be coming out very, very soon. Again, make sure you like and subscribe this video. We're going to be doing all kinds of content here on our YouTube page on HoopSeen TV throughout the course of scholastic season, of course, as we get ready for our upcoming travel season, which you can find all of our events at hoopseen.com, at hoopseen.com/events. We've got events all up and down the East Coast in a program and a schedule that for any program that you're going to be a part of, whether you're sponsored or non-sponsored, whether you're part of a circuit or not part of a circuit, we've got a platform for everybody. And make sure you get that calendar locked up with some of our better events. The HoopSeen tip-off, I would suggest, at the very last weekend in March is something that you're going to want to be a part of if you're a travel team director watching and listening to this podcast, which we appreciate. Josh, let's talk about this some more. Who emerged? Like, were there some underclassmen? Were there some players that maybe you didn't know a lot about going into this event that you're like, man, I took notes. You really pulled out the Sharpie. You used the Sharpie and wrote down their name?
Oh, yeah, 100%. And I think, it was weird hearing him announced as this because I don't know who the hell does this kind of thing. But Latrell Allman from John Marshall was announced as a top 10 freshman in the country or whatever. Okay. I don't know who's ranking freshmen. That's something that we're going to get to eventually. But like the 2026 class is not one that we have delved too deeply into sure. because, so much time or whatever. But Latrell Allman was a name that I had been familiar with just by going to various camps or whatever. And he certainly lived up to that billing of being a top kind of player in his class. He's 6'8", really physical forward. And where he really shined was defensively. He was matched up. He really shined in that game against Columbus because he was matched up with Cameron Boozer. And he was the only player that I've seen that made Cameron Boozer look human. Boozer did not look great against Latrell Allman. And that was because of, Allman's physicality on defense. He really frustrated Boozer and held him to a really inefficient, 4 of 17 from the field. Wow. I mean, these numbers from Boozer are just highlight how good he is, but he was held to, 12 points and 14 rebounds, which is for anyone else, that'd be a great game. But for Boozer, it was just it really, you could tell.
Yeah, it's unnatural.
And Allman was a big part of that. He was really great defensively in that game. I think that's, why he's got to be a name that everyone pays attention to nationally. Got it.
Anybody else from the underclassmen that make the category here for you?
Yeah, and I got to see him at City of Palms as well. Was the Rock School's Evan Stirk. He's a 2025 guard. And just jokingly with some fellow evaluators, we were talking about how Mike Young should be there on hand to watch him because he seems like the kind of guy that Virginia Tech has succeeded with in the past. He's a really cerebral kind of guard who really sees the floor well, really makes a lot of smart plays, can shoot it a little bit can shoot it a lot of bit from three, makes really good passes, and just kind of fits into that general, mold of a Mike Young kind of player. Just go watch Sean Padula right now. Go look at Brandon Rexsteiner, and you'll kind of see the archetype that Evan Stirk is built from.
Again, like we did with other pods, it took 17 minutes to get to Isaiah Collier. It took 12 minutes and 30 seconds to get to B-Rock. So I'm just making notes. I'm just making notes, observations. That's all that I'm doing. That's it. Don't read into it. Let's talk about the unsigned seniors. There's obviously a lot of guys. And on your notes, you have somebody that I saw at the Tarkanian Classic before Christmas that I really liked a lot. Let's talk about Jalen Curry for a second from Calvary Christian down in South Florida. What did you like about him? And I'd be curious to see if it matches up with what I saw from him in Las Vegas.
It's just shot making. He was hitting everything in one of their games. I forgot which game it was that they played. I saw them 3 times, so they kind of all blend together a little bit. But he had a 30-plus point game, and he was just drilling shots from all over. He was hitting tough shots. He was hitting open shots. He was able to get himself open. He was able to create for others. I thought he had a really efficient, all-around great game in that one. And it was their second game of the weekend. Forgot who they played, but he was really great in that game.
It's funny, he had a really good spotlight when he was younger, USA basketball guy, had a really good year with Boo Williams. I'm always interested in how his recruitment's always been a little quiet. If you talk to college coaches, that was kind of the conversation amongst guys in Las Vegas prior to, man, why is his recruitment so quiet? Yeah. A lot of people talking about him. I could see his recruitment really spiking now that we're into the new year. And that Calvary Christian team, they got some dudes, man. They got a lot of talent on that team.
Yeah. You know what I could see kind of the general path being for a guy like Jalen Curry is that you mentioned that his recruitment's gone a little quiet. I think that he's a guy that could really go to a mid-major program and thrive there for 2 years. And then because of his ability to hit shots and stuff like that, high major program, he would be a benefit for a transfer portal.
If he makes it that far. I mean, honestly, the way the recruiting works now too, you have a guy that out of nowhere transfers out of a high major program. They're looking to fill a roster spot right away. I think Jalen Curry could be a name that we hear a lot about, particularly February and March when those rosters start to really kind of rear its head a little bit. Let me pivot for a second, Josh. Let me really kind of challenge you on this. Okay. We talk about food. We talk about food quite a bit here on the pod. Okay. It's a Chick-Fil-A classic, okay? 5 best things on the menu at Chick-fil-A. Go.
5 best things on the menu at Chick-fil-A?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't eat meat, so why don't you tell me?
Oh, man, I forgot. You have that just sad part of human development. Okay, all right. Well, see, now it's not even fun now. I had all this excitement built up, like this was going to be a great surprise segment, and now I'm like, oh, I forgot about that.
And also, like I mean, you know, maybe I'm just being ignorant, but chicken sandwich, like what the hell's on the menu at Chick-Fil-A other than sandwiches and nuggets, right? Like,
okay, I mean, do you like the spicy flavor? Do you like? Here's a real deep cut. What type of jelly, if any, do you put on your chicken biscuit in the morning? Strawberry is the right answer. You know,
we always got to go jelly on a biscuit, like even as someone who doesn't.
But with the chicken in the middle of it, that's the real.
Right.
That blew my wife's mind when I moved out here to the West. She's like, "You're doing what? You're putting what on your chicken?" I mean, it messed.
That is certainly a Southern thing. I moved to Louisville, which is Southern-ish from California, and that is something I'd never heard of before then.
Man, this had so much potential to be a great.
Hey, wrong guy. I think
that's on me. That's on me.
Like that.
Yeah, that's like passing the ball to Shaquille O'Neal asking to be a 3-point shooter.
Right. Yeah, wrong wheelhouse for me. You want to talk about like movies or something like that? I'm your guy.
Spicy chicken deluxe, by the way, is the right answer for me.
What's the difference between the deluxe and the regular? Just like,
oh, it's got lettuce and tomato on it.
Oh, okay, cool.
By the way, speaking of movies, it rained randomly all day here in the desert in Arizona, which doesn't happen very often. So
it's raining here now.
We were stuck inside, which was fine, which actually really welcomed. Speaking of movies, Snatch is one of my all-time favorite movies, a Guy Ritchie movie with Brad Pitt. Did you see Bullet Train?
I did. You know what? And it's great that you brought that up because I will be releasing my top 25 movies of 2022 by the end of the month.
Let's go. I love it. Where is Bullet Train going to be on that list?
Yeah, it's probably, Bullet Train is like Xavier basketball, where it's kind of like, it's a really solid NCAA tournament, kind of perennial NCAA tournament team, right? Has the ability to make an Elite Eight. It's not going to be at the highest level of like a Gonzaga or a Duke or a currently in Arizona, but it's a really solid program that you don't want to face in the tournament. And I think that's kind of where Bullet Train stands on my list of movies. It's like really like 15, 16, 17-ish, like really solid movie. Probably not going to be discussed as like, Oscar nominated, but really solid.
Okay. I can't wait to see that. See, we pivoted from a busted Chick-fil-A segment to movie talk, which I'm all for. I thought Bullet Train was like Snatch meets Kill Bill. I was all about it. It
was a blast. It was really fun popcorn movie, right? You go to the movies, just have a great time.
Well, I didn't think we would, when we started this pod, that we'd be ending here talking about a violent train ride in Japan, but here we are.
Wait, I can bring it back to basketball and bring it back to a very common theme that we have a lot earlier. You mentioned that it took me 17 minutes to bring up Isaiah Collier. We'll do it again. He was also good at a Chick-fil-A Classic with Wheeler. So
what a perfect segment to end the pod. What a perfect one. If you don't want this kind of love of basketball in your life, then don't subscribe. But if you do, make sure you do. Hit the like and subscribe button. Hit the bell so you know when all these videos come out the minute we put them up onto YouTube, which we do it pretty regularly. Josh, what's next for you on the horizon going into the 2023? I almost said 23 or 22. The 23 calendar year. There we go. I got there. What's on the horizon for you as far as coverage?
This Saturday, Saturday the 7th, I will be at Grayson High School for their New Year's Classic. That one is headlined by Grayson versus Kell. So that's, two of the best teams in Georgia, a lot of D1 high-quality prospects in that one. It'll be great to see. Kell's looked like I'd say Kell's probably been the second best team in Georgia overall, regardless of class. And it'll be really great to see them matched up with Grayson, who has also been, a top 10 caliber team in Georgia. Yeah. So I'm really excited about that one. Down the line, I have some other things in the works. I'm just waiting on to see if credentials get approved or not. But we'll talk about those, once they get finalized. Sure.
Well, I saw Kell out in Vegas. Big win over Liberty, who then won the Classic, the Damien Classic out in California after Christmas. So big win for Kell out in Las Vegas. So I'm excited for you to see those guys as well. For Josh Check, I'm Justin Young. We appreciate you watching this wild and woolly shot clock version of the podcast this week. We'll have plenty more coming up this week. Make sure you check out our other pods, Garrett Tucker, Griffin Greenberg, and of course the Just a Minute pod, all kinds of stuff right here on our HoopSeen TV YouTube channel. For Josh, I'm Justin. Appreciate you watching. We'll see you next time right here on HoopSeen.com.